December 16th, 2025, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Village of Sugar Grove Board to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
President Stovall.
Here.
Trustee Lundy.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee Special.
Here.
Trustee London. Here. Trustee Roscoff.
Here.
All right, we have appointments, public hearing. Nobody that I'm aware of is signed up for public hearing appointments this evening. First, we have approval of the appointment of Dave Kintz to the Village of Sugar Grove Police Pension Board with a term expiration of May 1st, 2026. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 7A, approval of my appointment of Dave Kintz to the Village of Sugar Grove Police Pension Board?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from Trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Trustee Roscoff. Scott Koppel will present this item.
Thank you. This is just an appointment to fill the spot on the police pension board. And Dave is recommended by Chief Rollins, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Dave Kintz is appointed to the Village of Sugar Grove Police Pension Board. Up next, we have approval of the appointment of Karen Johns to the Village of Sugar Grove Police Pension Board with a term expiration of May 1st, 2027. Is there a motion and a motion and a second to discuss and vote on this item?
I'll make that motion to approve.
We have first from Trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
And a second from Trustee London. Scott Keppel will present this item.
Thank you. Matt Anastasia was previously on the police pension board. It's been a tradition for us to have our finance director serving on the board. It's a way to bring back information to the village board and have communication with that board. And then also plan accordingly with our levies and work in conjunction with the police pension. So it's worked well in the past. And I'm recommending, along with President Stowell, to recommend Karen in that spot.
Is there any discussion? If we can have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Karen Johns is appointed to the Village of Sugar Grove Police Pension Board with a term expiration of May 1st, 2027. Up next, we have approval of a resolution authorizing the appointment of Finance Director Karen Johns as the authorized agent for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Is there a motion and a second to discuss on this item?
I'll make the motion.
We have a first from Trustee Roscoff. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Trustee Michaels. Scott Keppel will present this item.
Thank you. IMRF has a requirement that we have someone as the authorized agent. That's the person that, for our entity, is the contact point with IMRF, the retirement fund for the village. And again, this lines up nicely with the finance director doing it in the past. If we have issues, someone's retiring, there's questions about our rate, different things that happen, it's important to have an authorized agent, and I'm recommending, along with President Stowell, to recommend Karen to fill this spot as well.
Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Roscoff.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy. Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Karen Johns is appointed as the Finance Director's authorized agent for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Up next, we have approval of a resolution authorizing the appointment of Karen Johns as the delegate and Brett Feltis as the alternate delegate for the Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency, or IRMA. Is there a motion and a second to discuss this item?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from Trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from Trustee London. Scott Keppel will present this item.
Thank you. Another one, with Karen being appointed, we do need to have a delegate that is approved by the village board. With IRMA, sometimes the delegates oftentimes will receive information from IRMA about our renewals. And on the occasion that we have some type of settlement agreement that we're trying to reach for one of the claims against us, they would also work on or be a part of that discussion. So again, this is it works well with it being the finance director when planning the IRMA fees and the amount that we need to have in budget, and then also renewing and then reporting back to the village board on anything to do with IRMA. So President Stoll and I recommend Karen and then Brett as the alternate for this position.
Is there any discussion? If we get a roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye. Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
The ayes have it, and Karen Johns is appointed as the delegate, and Brett Feltes as the alternate delegate for the Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency. Up next, we have airport report with Trustee Special.
There was no meeting, but I did check with the airport manager to see anything of note. Rev, as I mentioned before, is not fulfilled their contract with Aurora, so they're nearly shut down right now. They're only providing training. JA Air is handling all fueling as of right now. They don't know exactly how that's going to shake out or end, but it doesn't seem like Rev has any interest in working with their relationship with Aurora. The sign, we've discussed many times here. It's been ready to go, not ready to go. They did have it out for a review with IDOT because there it is IDOT right away along US 30. And to proceed, it would need county rezoning of that parcel since it's unincorporated. So at that time, we then would find out if they're actually going to proceed with that sign. And they did, a couple months ago, they did get a grant for new snow equipment, and they were happy to report that the equipment worked very good these past couple snowfalls. So that's all I have for my report.
I have a question. I noticed that Aurora was having committee meetings regarding the area around the airport. Are you aware of when those happen in advance?
No, I don't
Okay.
know what committee meetings around the airport.
There was, it wasn't physically around the airport, but it was a committee meeting in Aurora discussing like businesses and things they could do around the airport to bring in additional income. If you happen to be aware of those, I had emailed them as well, but I think it might be good if they were open to us sending someone from Sugar Grove to be at the committee meeting, just so
Okay.
we could have input as well.
Okay.
I thought that was the purpose of the advisory committee, that part of the.
Right, part of it, yeah, I will check into it.
Okay, sounds
Thank you.
And up next, we have public comment on scheduled action items. The consent and general business items for this evening. Consent agenda, we have approval of the December 2nd, 2025 village board meeting minutes, approval of the vouchers, approval of the November 2025 treasurer's report, approval of the 2025 police pension municipal compliance report, an ordinance for the tax levy for fiscal year May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027. An ordinance for the tax levy for Mallard Point Rolling Oaks special assessment for fiscal year May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027. A resolution declaring notice of the 14th installment accrual of interest and adoption of Special Assessment Supplemental Bond and Procedures Act. An ordinance for the tax levy for the Sugar Grove Center Special Service Area Number 10, assessments for the fiscal year May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027. An ordinance abating 2025 taxes related to debt service 2017 bonds. And then general business will have an ordinance amending Title IX Building Code of the Village of Sugar Grove Village Code. Does anyone have public comment this evening? All right, would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
I would like to remove item E, please.
All right. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, removing item E?
I make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Lundy. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Bonnie. If we can have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Lindy,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
Trustee London,
Aye.
Trustee Special,
Aye.
Trustee Michaels,
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff,
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the consent agenda, with the exception of item E, is approved. We will now discuss item E, an ordinance for the tax levy for fiscal year May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027.
Yeah, I thought it was important that we make sure we know exactly what we're voting for, since it's the tax levy, and it was, to make sure it's on the record exactly explaining that this, if I am correct, that this is just the tax levy on the new construction, correct?
Yes, that's correct. This is just the new construction. You may have noticed that the number is slightly different. We got updated numbers from the county, and that is large part due to the TIP 1 being terminated. So that is that from the other discussion that we've had previously in the middle or late last week, we got some updates from the county tweaking that number slightly up. But we knew we were going to capture that money either way. I think they were reminded a little bit late in the county, so then they were updating their numbers a little bit late.
So this would mean that somebody currently is paying taxes in the village of Sugar Grove, their property tax go up, that their property tax that goes up has nothing to do with us, because as far as raising them, because we have not raised the current paying property tax owner.
We're levying the same as we did last year.
Yeah, last year we're
Yes.
not increasing.
Correct, and it's quite possibly if their assessment goes up, that their rate will go down with the percentage that is because of the village, so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was all clear, so.
None of the CPI was captured
All right,
in the levy, or in the ordinance as presented.
all right.
Is there any other discussion on item E? All right, is there a motion and a second to approve item E? An ordinance for the tax levy for fiscal year May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027.
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
And a second from trustee Lindy. If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Michaels,
Aye.
Trustee Lindy,
Aye.
Trustee London,
Aye.
Trustee Special,
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
The ayes have it, and an ordinance approving tax levy for fiscal year May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027 is approved. Up next, we have general business, ordinance amending Title IX, Building Code of the Village of Sugar Grove. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on this item?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Special. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second from trustee Michaels. Danny Marion will present this item.
The board discussed the newly proposed building code updates at the November 4th meeting. Overall, the board did not express any concerns over the proposed updates and amendments. There was discussion about the building code needing to be updated more frequently than we have been in the past, but other than that, there were no concerns expressed. Since this discussion happened, the Sugar Grove Fire Protection District adopted a code change that requires all commercial buildings to be sprinklered. This was not part of the adoptions that the village is proposing. It was not reported to the state with our adoptions either. The fire district can adopt requirements, however, the village's requirements supersede the fire district's, and the fire district is requesting that the village adopt this requirement as well. Staff does not support this requirement as it would be an unduly burdensome expense on new businesses, especially the smaller mom and pop shops that the board has expressed interest in attracting. Our code does require any building over 5,000 square feet or any buildings where the use is an assembly use to be sprinklered. This requirement came about from the fire department because of the new construction of Jiffy Lube. This building was not required to be sprinklered, and the fire department felt that it should have been. Staff is of the opinion that there are enough other fire protection requirements that require sprinkling, that requiring sprinkling of every commercial building is not necessary. Staff recommends that the board approve the ordinance adopting the building code updates and proposed amendments and discuss the fire district's request. If the board does choose that they would like to adopt the fire district's request, it will need to be done as a separate ordinance. As we have already submitted to the state our updates that we are proposing, and we need to submit this 30 days prior to adoption. So we'd have to bring it back if you guys choose to do so. I do have the chief building inspector here to answer any questions, as well as Chief Moran.
Thank you. We'll open discussion at this time. I have a couple of questions. So not for like a Jiffy Lube, but for the average like retail shop, what would be the cost of sprinkling something or installing sprinklers for something like that? Do you have any?
Chris, you can probably speak on that better than.
So I've been in contact with Kim Pruser. Kim Pruser is with the Chicago Fire Protection. She actually came in and attended a meeting that we had when we were doing Lennar's. And I asked her that very exact same question. And she says, I'm going to give it to you kind of in a reference of if you were doing a 3,000 square foot say building, because we were not requiring them for up to 5,000 square feet. Her estimates on sprinkler breakdowns was this could add an additional cost of almost $13,600 to a building about 3,000. And she said a lot of builders frown on that because you have to look at, especially in Sugar Grove, are we on trying to tap into a well, or are we tapping into city water? If we're tapping into a well, that number goes greatly higher. I've had conversation with Apex also. Apex has actually done some studies for us. The one that was just built on Prairie out there for the special events, that was almost going to raise her $30,000 to sprinkle that little building, the special events plant. But we were able to go in there and provide a lot of fire protection for her, where she didn't have to spend that additional cost. And she's up and running well. Some of the key factors that they were talking about is it also goes based on how many acres are we talking too, because you might have to run lines. We looked at the one when Clean Edge did. For them to run from, and they would have to go all the way to Settlers Ridge, and there's a breaking point, Michelle can tell you this, but there's a breaking point that if you exceed that, you don't have to make your connection. His additional cost was $50,000 because he had to go all the way up to Settlers Ridge and bring that all the way up to the toll road there. That was just for the line, that's not for the sprinkler system. So it's an expensive venture, you know, for a building that is potentially, you know, 5,000 and less. The Jiffy Lube is only 3,900 square feet with a max occupancy of 17 people in there at any one given time. So based on the construction and what they provided to us, and based on our view of other Jiffy Lubes when that came about, a lot of them do not have sprinkler systems in them, and they're a model kind of building, so they use the same plan everywhere because it's cost efficient for them. And that's why we didn't require it to be sprinkled, because it did not meet that threshold. Not only that, but this is a light mechanical building. When I say that, they're just changing fluids. They might jack your car up, change your tires, stuff like that. They're not tearing down, you know, engines and things of that nature, like you have the one down on Center Street, right? Snow Street.
Main Street.
Main, is that Main? Main, sorry. She's trying to tell me and I'm still ignoring. Sorry. On Main Street. So there is some great difference in how the facility is being used. One thing I'm going to add that we did do to this building is there is a customer area, and then you have the bay area. okay? When we ventured and looked at some of the other Jiffy Lubes, their walls stop just slightly before it gets to the roof deck. And they were putting in ceiling panels up there to kind of conceal it. So what you got is you got a hidden compartment for fire. I would rather have that truss open because I can see that fire. I can put that fire out. I don't have to bust into a wall. It's out. But we took it all the way up to the roof deck, and they wanted to put a 1-hour fire rating between customary and the bay. We made them put a 2-hour fire rated wall in there. There's an exit front and rear for exit, sprinkler system, extinguishers, alarms, heat detections in there. So in our opinion, it met all the requirements that the building code, not just the fire code, but the building code required.
Do we happen to know what the surrounding communities do? Like, does Elburn,
Okay.
Montgomery, do they require?
So I reached out to our contractor, and I also reached out to a couple municipalities. So the ones that I did reach out, you should see them in your, I believe you have them in your packet. Bear with me 1 second here. Sorry, I got a list here. So we know that the one in Aurora is not sprinkled. I talked to Montgomery, that one is not sprinkled. Yorkville is not sprinkled. And then I gave you a list of a couple other ones that are not sprinkled. According to the chief, there was one that was in Mundelein that was sprinkled. And if you look in your pictures, you'll see the very trusses that we're talking about. And you'll see that there is no sprinkling system in those. Even if you look at the one on Mundelein, you'll see that there's no sprinkling.
When you say not sprinkled, are you just talking about Jiffy Lubes? Or
I'm
are you
referring to
saying
Jiffy
ordinance?
Lube in general right now.
Do you happen to know if the surrounding communities have an ordinance requiring businesses under 5,000 feet?
I
to
know
sprinkle?
Montgomery pretty much follows the same thing we do because they're under the same fire protection that we are. I know that the airport is under there. I know Pressbury's under it. So they follow.
Does require every building to be sprinkled.
Who does?
Oswego.
Oswego does.
Okay.
Yes.
The majority of them do not.
Right.
It's always an option for a business to do it if they want to. They could add that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We would never deny a business from, putting a sprinkler system up if that's what they choose to do.
Yeah.
So yes, that's absolutely an option.
The NFPA does have pretty strict requirements as far as the size, the use, the construction type, the height, and when you need to be sprinklered. And we do have NFPA as one of our guides, so if NFPA says this commercial building has to have a sprinkler system, be it because it's too tall or be it because of the construction or the use, then they have to.
Right, and that was one of the items that we looked at with regards to the plans was the NFPA. And we went through the guidelines on it and it did not meet those guidelines.
Trustees, would anybody be in support of requiring sprinkler systems on buildings under 5,000 feet? Would any of the trustees be in support of requiring sprinkler systems in buildings under 5,000 feet?
I would. It's my day job. And if I saw a building like this with wood truss construction, I would be recommending sprinklers if it was my client. Because it is a combustible building, it's got combustible liquids within the building, so therefore the sprinklers would be the best protection option. Most fires in a sprinklered building are controlled by only a couple sprinkler heads going off if the system is properly designed and has a decent water supply. Now, to your point where we have water supply issues, that does drive up the costs significantly because they have to have own water supply. But in this particular case, if somebody was coming to me as a consultant and saying, hey, we're gonna build this building, but I don't wanna put sprinklers in, is there anything I would do? And I would say, It should not have been constructed with wood structure, and they should have gone with a steel and steel roof to reduce the combustible loading for that building. The compartmentation is nice, but just having detectors doesn't give you any kind of suppression.
So in your experience, are these, like consultants, insurers, the business owners deciding whether to put in the sprinkler system, or do you see municipalities requiring it?
It's a mixed lot. A lot of times the issues become who is the authority having jurisdiction to tell the places what they should and shouldn't do. In the last couple years, I was in one area north of here and pulled into the newly formed industrial park. It's only been there a couple years, and I go, oh, great, you know, this building over there has a fire pump test head around the building. That means it's sprinklered. I'm gonna have an easy day, all the places sprinklered. Now, I walk into this place, and whoever was the authority having jurisdiction had allowed construction of a facility that was essentially a bakery for pet cookies, had a major warehouse of mixed combustibles, and not a single sprinkler in there, nor did they require fully detecting for the building. So that is a larger building, but you know, when you look at what companies do and don't do, we need to take a look at it. You know, if you want to look at the 5,000 square foot ruling, you know, is that per individual unit? Like one of the things we talked about was mom and pop operations. Well, typically, if they're startup, they're not owners of a building, they're leasing. So are we going to make the owner of the building, you know, if they've got a, you know, 5,000 square foot building, but it's divided into, you know, 4 sections, does that exempt them?
No, and we did that with lot 17, on lot 17, even though those were divided up into, you know, 12 and 15 square feet, or 1,500 square feet, the building was taken as a whole, and it was required to be sprinkled. And even though you subdivided it, each one of those were there. The other thing I wanted to add into that, it's not just the initial cost that it costs to put the sprinkler system in, but you have a cost every year on that sprinkler system because you have to maintain that system.
Of course.
The other point to that is when you get an empty building, you gotta make sure that building, especially in the winter, stays warm, or you're gonna have bursted heads and stuff. So you've got some other, you know, things that you have to look at too when you talk about sprinkling buildings.
Well, from a firefighting standpoint, I think it's a lot safer for the a fire department, if they have to enter a building, to be entering a sprinklered building versus a non-sprinklered building. The fire deployment is definitely different from my understanding. Chief would probably have more information on that, but there's a lot of buildings where if there's not sprinklered, controlling that fire, this would be 100% loss. If they had a fire off hours, you know, that building with no sprinklers would be a loss. Yes, there are costs associated with it, but it's also a cost of doing business.
Are there any other trustees other than trustee London that would be in support?
I was wondering if Chief wanted to say anything?
Thank you.
First of all, thank you. I want to say that working with Danny and Chris is always easy to work. We have good communication on all levels, so this is not any kind of an adversarial thing at all. The Jiffy Lube was just kind of something that brought it to a point. I want to say right now is that everything was built to the fire code, to the building codes. Everything is 100% the way it should be. There's no issues with that from the fire district. My reaction to this whole thing was that, like you said, it's lightweight truss inside, and yes, it did meet the codes, but in my opinion, lightweight truss is what takes buildings and firemen out. So one thing we looked at was with the mom and pop shops. So the biggest thing with mom and pop shops is that they can't afford to not be sprinklered, because if they have a fire and it's in a sprinklered room, it's one head that pops, It's a small area that goes, it gets protected, the fire goes out. By the time we get here, fire's out, water damage is limited, and they can be cleaned up in within weeks to a month to get back into business. So if a mom and pop shop can't afford to be out of business for months or years, which then leads into their sales tax revenues, it leads into reduced EAVs for the amount of time that they're out of business. And some of these businesses would be completely out of business. They can't afford to rebuild, whether it be the location itself or their inventory or their business itself while they're not able to operate. So that was our big look. I did talk to Chris about this. I talked to Mundelein this morning. There are 97 municipalities within the state of Illinois that are 100% sprinklered, 0 square foot for everything. I do have a list for you of all the different places. Mundelein was one of them. A lot of them also have sprinkler requirements for single family, which is a whole other story for a different day. But that is our ultimate goal as well. Our biggest thing is to make sure that the community is protected from day one, right? So we always have to build everything to the code to start, but we all know that businesses and homeowners and all that change things as they move into buildings, and it takes time to maybe find some of those issues down the road. Our biggest concern is that if a building like that is not protected for the blade-weight truss, either by drywall or by sprinklers, it's going to be in a collapse situation by the time we get there. We've seen all the videos on all these things that it's minutes that those lightweight trusses collapse. It's also minutes that a sprinkler head would take to put out the fire and mitigate the entire problem before we get there. That's before the 911 call gets made, the fire alarm company, yes, they are all alarmed and detected, but that takes time as well to make that notification to the dispatch center. They make the dispatch center notify us, and then get out the door. Those sprinklers reduce that time. So I do have a packet that I'll give to you guys if you want, with all the different municipalities. Oswego, like Danny said, is 0 square foot for all their commercial businesses, and Huntley is the next closest municipality that is 0 square foot, and the ones around us is in Elburn have reduced their square footage on certain occupancies. So happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
How do you feel if they've changed that construction type to a steel structure versus the wood frame?
The steel structure would be a lot better. We still see steel truss fail, but not as quickly. The wood structure is the biggest concern. But like I said, it's all built to code. There's not anything I can do about that. We're just looking to correct this going forward. This is a new construction code that would be under, or any significant change to the occupancy. We have seen that in this town before. There was a building in town that was built under 5,000 square foot, and then turned around and wanted to put a daycare in it because they had a vacancy. Was not able to do because by both our codes and your codes, daycares are 0 square foot, and that would be assembly, they have to be sprinklered, and to retrofit that building would be quite costly because it is a large building with multi-occupancies. The last page of your pamphlet that you got today, there is federal rebates available for retrofitting, so that is out there for anybody that was going to retrofit a building, but this will be new construction only.
So I guess one of my questions is the sprinkler for 0 square footage for the commercial, is that more for property damage? Or is it life safety? Because there are plenty of other aspects that take care of life safety, whether you have sprinklers or not.
Yeah, so for commercial, it's mostly property that it saves. So that would be after hours, like you said. After hours, there's nobody there, it's alarmed, takes time. If it was a fire in any building, and there's occupants there, there's a chance of having fire extinguishers and things like that, which are required by both codes. But it's the after hours, and that would be what the biggest concern would be for commercial. For residential, it's a life safety issue. That is to protect life safety egresses. And that's where the code is more for residential, for life safety. Commercial is more for the building.
Yeah, commercially, I was thinking of.
But we did see that fire up on Denny Road last year that Had that building been sprinklered as a residential unit, it would have had a sprinkler in the laundry room, and it would have stopped that fire, and they would have been back in within weeks instead of almost a year it took them to get back into that building. So,
What building was that?
it's, on Denny Road, it was a house right next to our future building.
Yeah, residential is almost a whole nother animal.
It's a whole different animal.
A whole other animal you have
I've
to
talked
deal with.
to Scott about, down the road, having this discussion. I understand where the hangups are there. Obviously, as a fire chief, I don't want everything sprinkled everywhere. But I'm willing to work with you guys if we can work on the commercial end first and then go from there. So,
Are there any other options, instead of requiring on every single building, is there any sort of, middle grounds for buildings that maybe have fuel or, flammable things? Instead of doing every single building, is there something we could do in the middle?
I mean,
Hazardous.
the easiest way is to do it to zero,
Yeah.
and that way everybody's under the same code. If there was something that we had to do a variance on, which we did do for, like Chris said, Rosewood Farms and Clean Edge, those were signed off by me with heartburn because of the fact that, again, it's another building that was within the codes to not be to a point, but the biggest thing with them was water supply. We've gone through this before. Christ Community Church on Galena Road has a 10,000 gallon water tank inside of it because it is 100% required as a assembly to be protected and sprinkled. So there's ways to do it. There is a cost, but at this point, what's the cost of a firefighter or a police officer walking into the building and then having the building collapse on them? So that's the bigger picture in all this, is that if we can protect these buildings to not get to the point of collapse, that saves lives, saves property, and saves us.
And, to your knowledge, it's usually either all or nothing based on square footage, so it's either everything is sprinkled or over 5,000 feet, but there's no other municipalities that you know of that do it based on like.
There is some that do modified, that's what our code was with the 5,000 square foot, because some of those occupancies have a higher threshold up to 20,000 square foot, I think, on some of them, that we reduced down to 5,000 square foot. Like Chris said, we worked on lot 17 together as a 5,000 square foot building that's compartmentalized. We always look at the large footprint of the building, because at any point in time, especially in businesses like that, they could take down a wall and expand that compartment, and then it is back to the 5,000 square feet. So we want to make sure that it's protected from that end of things. So.
Thank you.
I'm fine with how it's written right now.
I'm trying to determine if there's enough for a consent agenda, so I've heard one yes, one no. Just to see,
Leave it the way we have
the way
it.
we have
I think since for commercial, this is more of, it's not life safety per se. The firemen, I understand, there's yours. And I know all the other codes that go into making sure that the walls are rated properly, and the caulk and the exit travel distance and all of that, and NFPA and the IBC for life safety. I'm tending to think to keep it the way it is right now, because I know that there is a big burden, and it kills me because I'm almost always default to what the fire department wants, because I work with fire safety stuff so much. But I would like, if this goes where we don't accept this comes back next year. If it does that for us to review.
Would you also be in support of bringing back next year, or Trustee Roscoff or Bonnie, are either of you in support of it right now?
Next year's fine for me.
Next.
I'm fine with the way it is right now.
Okay. All right, is there any other discussion? All right. Hearing none,
I make
Oh,
a
sorry.
motion?
Yeah, a
to-
motion and a second, we'll
To,
vote at this.
do the ordinance
Or
amending
amendments.
Title 9 Building Code of the Village of Sugar Grove. Is that good?
A motion and a second to bring it back next year.
No, I was
Or
gonna
you wanna
approve item 11.
We also tonight need to approve the ordinance amending or adopting our updated building codes tonight as they're written
Without this
originally.
item?
Yeah, without this item. It's not
Okay.
included in the ordinance, because like I said, we have to bring it back if we want to
Got it.
do this.
Okay. So we have a motion from trustee Michael,
We already had a motion and a second, I
Yeah, we
believe.
already had a
From
motion.
President? From trustee Special and trustee Michael.
Oh, okay, I
Okay.
apologize.
so then Tracy, can we have a roll call to vote on an ordinance amending Title 9 Building Code of the Village of Sugar Grove, but without the item just discussed?
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee London?
No.
Trustee Roscoff?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and ordinance amending Title 9 Building Code of the Village of Sugar Grove is approved. We now have public comment. Has anyone signed up for public comment at this time? Or would anyone?
I did sign up.
Oh, sorry, Lou.
Okay.
I didn't catch it.
Lou Lendy, Sugar Grove, and I'll give my standard disclaimer. My opinions are my own, not necessarily those of Trustee Lendy. And Sue, I'm directing that at you because you can't even tell the difference between Trustee Lendy and Trustee Special. Last time I was here, I asked you to please stop creating unnecessary drama by playing the victim. Yet, within an hour, you were doing the same thing. Trustee Lendy made the very reasonable request to discuss, not pass any rules, discuss a very simple topic. If something needs to be said with one voice, get the trustees' buy-in first. And if you can't get the trustees' buy-in, make it clear that it's coming from you and only you. Anybody that has worked with a team knows that's common sense. But you tried to paint that as divisive. Additionally, Trustee Lendy wanted to discuss this out in the open, in public, with all of the trustees. You wanted to do it in secret behind closed doors with emails. Yet you tried to make it seem like Trustee Lendy was anti-transparency. I've read the emails. You didn't want to discuss this publicly. And why didn't you want to discuss this publicly? What did you say? Because it would descend into a public three-ring circus. But you weren't expressing a concern. You were making a threat. If you didn't get your way, you were going to turn this meeting into a circus. I read the emails. You even threatened to run up a bunch of legal expenses and publicly blame Trustee Lendy for the expense. Within minutes of the agenda becoming public, you had people on Facebook making the same misinterpretation of what was a reasonable ask, using words that were verbatim at times from your emails. So you were feeding this information to them to create drama. You had one of your supporters come up here and actually threaten the board. We can vote you out. We've done it before. Not one of you is safe. Talk about drama. And over what? Were we talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of tax giveaways? No. We were talking about what amounted to etiquette. How petty a thing to rile up your supporters. So, I'm going to ask again, please stop drumming up unnecessary drama. It's embarrassing to the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. There are two of you creating drama, and neither one is me. Is anyone else signed up for public comment at this time? All right, hearing none, we will close public comment. Up next, we have discussion items. The first is an Illinois Municipal League membership for the Village of Sugar Grove. I had asked for this item to be added to the agenda. The Illinois Municipal League provides many resources that the village is able to use. Scott was able to take some courses. I know Heidi had gone to the IML conference and was able to take a class. Many of the things that they lobby for are to the benefit of our municipality, but we do pay $1,000 per year in taxpayer funds. I just wanted to bring up one thing that they are lobbying for that I do not believe that aligns with our community's wishes. And the purpose of this discussion today, I would like to take our comments to IML so that when it comes to things that are controversial or possibly not beneficial to our community, maybe they can look at it from a different lens. But IML had come out with a PowerPoint presentation. It was called Taking the Politics Out of TIF. IML is opposed to TIF reform. They oppose expanded reporting requirements, and they want to protect existing TIF laws. There are several bills that have been proposed for TIF reform, and those are meant to address the lack of transparency, clarify the term blight so that it cannot be misused, provide an alternative to the 23-year lifespans. There was one proposed that had considered a 10-year lifespan, and then there were also bills aimed to improve accountability. IML is opposed to these, and that is the one thing I don't love that our tax dollars are going to lobby for. So I'm hoping that IML in the future will consider looking at this through a different lens, and because some of these things, such as a shortened TIF term, could really benefit our municipality. Is there any other discussion in that regard?
I think it's important that we maintain our membership. I do appreciate your difference with them on TIF reform, but I think in general they provide a lot of good information, and the IML conference is typically worthwhile to send someone to the conference just to pick up new information.
Yeah. To clarify, I think the benefits of staying with IML outweigh the risks. And so I do not personally think that we should discontinue our membership at this time. But I did want to speak about this publicly to get them the comments, and then hopefully by next year they can maybe take a different approach so that our $1,000 is going to the good programs that we really love and not the lobbying on controversial issues.
I think IML is a great resource, and as with large organizations, there are going to be some things you don't agree with and some things you do. I have made it abundantly clear that I am not a fan of TIFs. I never have been. I did attend when I went there, I did attend some of their conferences on TIF bonding authority and uses, enhancing TIF with other economic development tools and such like that. Because even if I don't agree with TIFs, best to know what somebody who I'm not, the opposite opinion is. See if they can sway me, or see if I can get information that, that I can fight against or whatever. But we're not going to be 100% in agreement with a large organization like this, and I think the benefits far outweigh any disagreements on that.
Is there any other discussion?
Just on the membership in IML, and I know you're not recommending, but I'm in concurrence to stay a member of IML.
All right, hearing no other discussion, we will move on to our next discussion item, which is construction hours, and Danny Marion will present this item.
So, with all the construction happening right now within the village, we have received numerous complaints regarding construction happening and noise complaints. This has gotten staff to look at construction hours that we permit in our noise ordinance. We surveyed surrounding communities, and for the most part, we are in line with surrounding communities. Some communities do, however, have different hours on weekends. we discussed the results of the survey, which you guys received by email with President Stillwell. And we felt that it would may be beneficial to our residents to change our construction hours from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. daily, to 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Staff is requesting that you all discuss the proposed change and provide us with feedback on preparing the necessary ordinance.
Is this all construction, roofers and?
Yeah, the way our noise ordinance is written, it's any kind of construction.
Have the complaints been mostly on weekends?
No,
No, there was one day we received like 10 complaints in one day about a particular builder, but
Well-
we aren't able to shorten the hours even more because of existing contracts.
and these complaints were coming way past 8:30 p.m. At night. So it's not like they were not, like they're complaining that they're still working at 8:30, it's because they're working after hours, and I don't want to say that they're unfounded, but there was other things happening in that area that it might not have been the construction.
The one comment I have is that, you know, it affected me a lot too, because it's Lennar. I mean, it's the big one, because a lot of neighbors contacted me as well as on the board. The issue I have is the trucks. The trucks is the biggest issue, because that's all we heard is trucks backing forward, backward, all day long. It was just, I mean, it's construction is construction, but that is just, like, I literally had my headphones on, so I wouldn't have to hear the noise, because it was just nonstop. All I hear was beep, 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 you know, all day long. Every day. And it's hard, but you're sleeping at 6:30 on a Saturday morning. I personally like 7:30 on a weekend. I think 7 o'clock is still too early on the weekend. Because, I mean, every weekend I was woken up. It just,
Yeah, I don't mind having it a little bit later in the morning on the weekend, but I question the 6 PM on the weekends, especially if you're looking at summer hours.
yeah, I'm fine for later in a weekend, like 6 o'clock, I'm fine for even
I think-
later, 8 o'clock at night, as long as it's, I'd prefer 7:30 in the morning.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Weekends is what's in the annexation agreement with, for Crown. So that governs that entire one, and staff would prefer there to be one time set if possible for the entire village. And that is the one, if you were to have it be 7:30, that would not apply to the annexation agreement. The annexation agreement would override it. So there would be some confusion for residents where Lennar would have to start at 7:30, but Crown could start at 7. So I would not recommend going any later than that. If you list the hours as later, then they would get, then that's okay on the weekend. That's not gonna cause a problem for us with enforcement and education. But I recommend not going later than 7 a.m. for that reason.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing is, I just, 6 seemed a little early on the weekend, especially if you're looking at summer hours, where sometimes it doesn't get dark until, 8 o'clock or something.
Wait, so you're saying that the 6 PM could go,
Later.
oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying, the 6 PM.
Could be 8:30 PM like it is Monday through Friday? or
Yeah,
something?
I mean, if
Okay.
if you wanna keep it at 6 PM and no one has a problem with that, that's fine, but, and the 7 AM, at least it's not 6 AM, I guess, on the weekend, but I agree that 6 AM in the morning and the weekend is a little rough.
I almost see this as a blue sky law where, dealerships are closed on Sunday more for the dealership's benefit, so they have a day off. I think keeping 6 PM for these
Okay.
contractors isn't bad. It gives them some time off, because some of these contracts will make them work, 18-hour days. So, and I think the residents deserve some peace and quiet on a Saturday or Sunday during the summer as well, so. And, a lot of times they start early in the morning to avoid the heat in the middle of the summer. But I think 7, they're not usually nailing that early in the morning. They're usually just getting set up. So I think the hours are working.
Okay.
would anybody be opposed to changing the hours to, sorry, I'm blind as a bat, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday?
I'd take staff's recommendation.
Okay. All right. We will close discussion on that item at this time. The next discussion item is the IEPA Public Water Supply Loan Program update, and Brad Merkel will present this item.
Good evening, everyone. We've reached kind of a little milestone on this IEPA low interest loan for the Maple Street reconstruction and the water tower repainting, so I want to bring Michelle in to give you all a little update on it.
So typically, the first step in through the loan process is to get an approved project plan. And in order to do that, the typical way is there's something called a preliminary environmental impact determination, which is when you have like floodways and wetlands, and there's issues that go along with that. So in this case, it's running water main down a street that's already built. There's none of those major items, much like the storage tank. So in this case, IEPA said, let's just do a categorical exclusion, but we want to make sure the residents. So the difference is you'd have a full public hearing for the preliminary environmental impact determination. But in this case, with the categorical exclusion, we're just required to publish in the newspaper, allow 10 days for comment, and come back. This does not mean you will get the loan at this point. This is just project plan approval. I'm happy to take any questions.
And I asked Brad and Michelle to present on this because it's going to end up being in the paper, and just in case you are contacted by any residents about why or what are we doing here, we wanted to come forward and talk about this as well. And again, the reason we're looking to get this low interest loan from the IEPA is they're sub 3% still for their loans to communities, and we have a huge spike in water projects coming up between the 47 widening, Maple and Joy, and the water tank. So in an effort to avoid raising as little as possible the water fees, we want to take a low interest loan that we can pay off over time rather than spiking the fees on the residents. So this is a very prudent way we can do it. And through the state, we can get much lower loan rates than we can if we were to bond, and be closer to probably 7 or 8%.
2.16% is the current rate, for what it's worth.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all for working on that.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion?
Villages use this program in the past for many projects. It's a very good program.
All right, we will close discussion on that item at this time, and we now have staff reports. The first is Scott Keppel, Administration.
Thank you. My report's in your packet. Happy to answer questions. I also do want to say that we had a successful Christmas party on Friday. Thank you to Trustee Special and London and President Stillwell for attending, and to the board and Madam President for having the party. We have a turnout like you wouldn't believe from staff. We're like 90+%, which is pretty unheard of. The morale on our staff is still very high, and something we're very proud of. And getting everybody together in that atmosphere and singing "Happy Birthday" for Brad was a good time had by all, and it shows that they do very good hard work, and they're also able to show up and be together like that. It's uncommon from workplaces that I've been in the past to get that type of turnout. So something I'm very proud of, and I wanted to make sure that I shared that today.
Thank you to Tracy as well for.
Oh yeah,
planning
Tracy,
so much
put
of
the whole
that.
thing
Yeah.
together. I almost forgot. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Scott.
All right, next we have Danny Marion in Community Development.
I have nothing to add.
All right, Chief Rollins, please.
Just on Monday, a week ago Monday, we had 2 brand new officers start, and at the Christmas party, President Stillwell was able to swear in 2 of our brand new officers. After the academy, they complete their academy experience, they'll come back here or do a cake and coffee and another swearing in with their family present. So the police project is moving along pretty quickly on the inside. Obviously, the weather's holding up some of the exterior mortar work with the bricks, but they believe they're still on schedule, even though they got hit with early snowfall. And Scott, during our bi-weekly discussions, made a great suggestion. They'll probably be coming back here in January, one of the January meetings, to just present an update and provide pictures, just so you guys know where all that money that is being spent, what it's going into. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Brad Merkel, Public Works.
My report's in there, I have nothing to add.
Thank you.
Except for thanks to my staff, they've done a great job with the snow this year.
Yes, thank you.
Put a lot of miles on the trucks and the equipment's been holding up very well.
Thank you.
How much snow have we gotten so far to that big event?
I don't have a total for you, but it's, I would say about 16 inches total probably. More than we got all of last season.
Yeah.
So then the question is, how's our salt supply?
So we're still working on, we've got our first, I think we've ordered 700 tons. We've used 600 tons this year so far. So we have another 2,000 available to us between our auxiliary and what we have obligated to the state. Percent.
Trustee reports, Trustee Lindy.
I attended the tree lighting with Sean Michaels, Holiday Inn Grove. And then it was a really nice walk with luminaries to the library. The library board meeting will be tomorrow, so I'll attend that. Big news, I have a prop for Kane County Forest Preserve. Bison. December 8th, if you watched on Facebook, they had the bison released. It is the first time in 200 years for bison to be on the prairies in Kane County. It's a Burlington Prairie Forest Preserve, and they have 6 bison, 3 adults, 3 yearlings.
Where is that
males.
exactly? Where?
Pardon? Where?
Where exactly is that?
This is, it's in Sycamore, so Burlington Prairie Forest Preserve. So, 38 acres. They have 3 males, 3 females. And it's all fenced in prairie with all the native plants. So, really excited about that, so.
All right, Trustee London.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Special.
Just want to give again, thank you to staff. This is our last board meeting of the year, so I just want to give a thank you for all their work and efforts, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year, since our next board meeting will be next year.
Thank you. Trustee Michaels.
I attended the tree lighting with Trustee Lindy, and the pancake breakfast with President Stillwell, and it was great to see so many community members out supporting those events, so it was good. And I know Township Supervisor Tom Rowe didn't win the flip-off, the pancake flip-off, so it was great. It's good to see the police officers and public works guys out helping, so thank you very much. So that's it.
Trustee Roscoe.
No report.
Trustee Bonnie.
Nothing.
All right, for President's report this evening, some of you may have seen Oswego today had joined the Finnegan Project. They came up with an ordinance within Oswego that all new construction buildings will have barriers to help prevent injuries and fatalities from buildings that don't have protection from cars driving through for patrons. Chris had done research and added into our own building code that our new construction buildings will have barriers. And so I had contacted the Finnegan Project and let them know we aren't able to name ours Finnegan's Law because we're not a home rule municipality, but I said we would do what we could to support and bring awareness in honor of Finnegan, who was the 2-year-old that tragically lost his life at the Portillo's in Oswego. So to the extent that we can, we'll participate in that as a community. And nothing else to report. There is an executive session this evening. Is there a motion and a second to enter executive session to discuss litigation 5 ILCS 122C11 and to adjourn the meeting afterward as there is no further business to discuss?
I'll make the motion.
We have first from trustee Roscoff. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee London. We'll now enter executive session. After a vote from Tracy, please.
Trustee Roscoff?
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye. Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Okay.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.